Hello, everybody. Alright, so episode 3 of I Am the Night premiered last night, and it was a more exciting episode than the previous one. Honestly, I was a little less enthusiastic with episode 2. It just didn't feel like a lot happened, it didn't go anywhere. Oh, it went somewhere, but it just wasn't as eventful. This episode was more exciting because our two protagonists finally met. And I think it would have been better if they had met in the second episode. It would have made more sense time-wise, pace-wise. But I don't know how they're planning to do the full series because it's only supposed to be 6 episodes, and I don't know what's going to happen in the rest of it. But let me talk about the important events that happened. So, Fauna is still unsure what to think about Tamar and the whole situation with her family, so she actually returns to Karina's house because she thinks that Karina is hiding something. She's trying to see if Tamar might be there. She does snoop around the house while Karina is out, but she doesn't find much except she does find an envelope that is dated from a week ago from Tamar. So she wonders if they're communicating in some way. Unfortunately, her snooping is interrupted by the creep that's been following her. And this guy actually is working with George Hodel. We don't quite know why or how exactly. We don't quite know a lot about him still, but he is working with George Hodel, keeping an eye on Fauna. And there's something very unsettling about him. He's just, like, he doesn't have good intentions. You can sense that. And she hides from him, and thankfully Karina returns home, so that distracts him, and Fauna escapes. Jay, who has been kind of having he's just been having a rough time this whole time. He is actually like snooping around the front of Karina's house, and he sees Fauna escape, so he goes after her. He had almost met her in the last episode, but she managed to leave before he could find her. This time they finally meet, and just as he's following her in his car, the creep also approaches Fauna in his car, so Fauna has to make a choice which creep does she want to allow to take her away. So she goes with Jay, which was the better choice because I really don't trust this other guy. He's just as unnerving as Hodel. It's like, I can't describe it. Anyway, so yeah, she follows Jay, and they want to find out things about the past, but they don't communicate very well, let's put it that way. Like, you can tell Fauna really doesn't trust him. She wants to know, like, why he's on Tamar's side, what does he know, but he also wants to know what she knows, and it's like, this conversation just doesn't go very far. So they're at a diner, and they're trying to talk, but Fauna just doesn't want to give him too many answers. So eventually she sneaks out, and Jay gets very upset because he's lost his one lead that he has on this case that he's trying to reinvestigate. And he just kind of hits a low point where he wants to rejoin the army. He tries to sign up again, but he's too old. But while he's there, he manages to spot a magazine from another shop, and it's about the Black Dahlia murder case. So he buys that, and he starts to put together the previous case that he had taken photos of back in episode 1. He notices similarities in how the victims were murdered, and he wonders if there's a connection. So I guess he hadn't made that connection originally from whatever article he wrote. I think it was more about Tamar, like, whatever allegations she was making about sexual assault. So I guess the Black Dahlia murder case wasn't a connection they were making at the time. At least he wasn't. So now we're kind of starting to figure that out. And Fauna returns home. She learns that one of the boys that's been interested in her, he was murdered. And he had actually called her earlier and he was flirting with her over the phone. And she just didn't like him because, honestly, he did come off as a little bit of a creep, too. Seems to be a theme in this episode. But yeah, he died, which I didn't think that was going to happen. So she's worried because he had a connection to her that she's the reason why he got murdered. So she figures that she should leave home, at least her aunt's house, and she asks one of her friends to take her away. So once that happens, she tries to call her mother, her adopted mother, but she doesn't want to hear anything. She's like, "You're going to get yourself in trouble. I'm coming to get you." So I think we will see Jimmy Lee again. I think in the next episode. But yeah, just Fauna is just not finding a lot of answers, really. And it seems like things are about to get a lot more complicated. But this was episode 3. I feel like a lot of this should have happened in the last episode. I understand that there's a lot they have to get covered, but there are some scenes that feel like they just kind of take you out of the moment. Like, there was a whole investigation earlier with Jay's character, a guy named Billis who really doesn't like him, and Jay really has an issue with him because he seems to be, like, hiding behind his badge, and he wonders if he's trying to cover something up. But there's just, like, this whole scene that plays out, which I guess it'll be important later. It just felt like it was a little longer than it needed to be. But that's just my opinion. But overall, it was a good episode. I'm glad that Jay and Fauna finally met. Now they have that connection. And maybe once they find each other again, they'll start to figure things out. I don't know still how they're going to work together because they really are off to a rocky start. But who knows? We still have 3 more episodes. We didn't learn too much more about George Hodel in this episode. He's definitely the king of creeps in this show. Like, we see flashbacks of him having parties at his mansion, and it's just really just this creepy vibe of all this stuff going on, and it's hard to... But yeah, he's having this weird party. There's a lot of sexual activity going on, and there's just a lot of violent stuff going on, and Tamar, as a child, was witnessing all of this. So there's definitely something off about George Hodel. And again, he's not featured too much in this episode. He's really been like this mysterious figure whom we haven't really seen much of. But it's like his presence is always around, and you feel so uneasy whenever he's on screen. And they're doing a good job creating him like this entity of sorts. Like, just this presence of evil that surrounds all the characters. So I think they've done a good job with that. I personally would like to see more of George Hodel, like more scenes at least, just to get more of an idea of what's going on with him. But I guess this is from Fauna's point of view, so she probably didn't have too much to do with him. I'm not sure how much this is based on real life, and this is supposed to be based on a book that Fauna Hodel actually wrote, but I don't know how much they've taken from the book and put into the show, but it'll be interesting to learn. As far as the show goes, though, it's definitely good. I feel like the pacing could be better with some events that happen, but I'm still interested to see how it ends. Like I said, 3 more episodes, and we will find out what happened to Fauna and her journey in finding her real family. Which probably isn't going to be like a Disney movie, let's be honest. It's definitely a This whole story is just so creepy and weird. Just all these things that could be connected to it. It's very unnerving. And the show's definitely doing a good job showing that. And of course, the two leads, Chris Pine and, oh, I'm blanking on her name. Sorry. India Isley, I believe is her name. They are doing a great job with their characters. And yeah, I can't wait to see more. Alright, guys. Hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you guys enjoyed episode 3. And I will see you next week for episode 4. Bye!